The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome. Hello. I'm going to kick off. It is 2 o'clock, so I don't want to waste the time for those of you who have made it on time. No doubt some of the others will join us in the next few minutes. And if they don't, that's their loss. What I am going to cover with you today is how you can take your marketing to new heights with Dynamics 365 and ClickDimensions. I want to start by asking you a question to get a feel of what your current knowledge of Dynamics and 365 is. So I'm going to run a poll in a few minutes or in a few seconds, but what I want to know is whether your organization is using Dynamics 365 with no marketing automation, using Dynamics 365 with a marketing automation product other than ClickDimensions, using ClickDimensions, or not using Dynamics 365. So I will go to that poll, and if you can all let me know what your response is. I'll give you a minute or so to answer that question. So we've got a bit of a mixture. Some of you are using ClickDimensions and some are not using ClickDimensions, but fortunately everybody is using Dynamics 365. So I'm going to very quickly run through what ClickDimensions is, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. So ClickDimensions is a marketing automation solution, which, unlike many of the other marketing automation solutions out on the market, it works exclusively with Microsoft Dynamics 365. It is an add-on to Microsoft Dynamics 365 and a dedicated add-on to that at that. And what that allows it to do is to leverage Microsoft Dynamics 365 native functionality, but not replicate any of that functionality. And another very nice feature of ClickDimensions is that it uses and updates data within your Dynamics 365 database. So we are not creating information silos. All of the information that we gather as we go through using Dynamics 365 with ClickDimensions is held in the one single database. And there's a lot of advantages to that, and I will come to that as we move through the session. As I'm going through, if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box, and then towards the end we will have a question and answer session, and I will open up the chat box and I will answer those that I can. Those that I can't answer, probably for time reasons, but for any reason during the chat session, I will get back to you later on. So now what I want to do is ask you a very personal question. Well, not very personal, but what is your personal level of experience with ClickDimensions. So do you have no experience? You use the email marketing functionality, but not a great deal more. You use email marketing and you've done something with web forms or surveys. You would regard yourself as a broad user. You use lots of the functionality, or perhaps you are one of your company's ClickDimensions administrators. Again, I'll give you a minute or so to think about that and then to respond to the poll. Awesome. So in fact, we don't have any ClickDimensions experts on the call. So that means I hope that you will all learn quite a lot from the session today. So what I'm going to cover between now and probably about 10 to 3 is what benefits you get by adding a marketing automation solution such as ClickDimensions to Dynamics 365. We're going to look at what ClickDimensions provides to you as a member of a marketing automation. And we're going to finish off by looking at how you can set it and forget it. In other words, how you can set things up, which allows a lot of your marketing to just happen without you doing anything at all. Marketing automation is about one thing and one thing only, and that is, it is about timing. And there's two key aspects of timing that we'll be considering as we go through. First of all, marketing automation helps you identify those prospects whose timing is changing to your advantage. And what that means is something is happening in the prospect's environment, which means that they are more likely to purchase from you soon. And for many businesses, particularly business-to-business businesses, soon typically means within the next 3 months. You don't need to go far in sales to talk to people who have got absolute red hot prospects who suddenly just disappear. They go cold. They stop responding to emails and they stop returning calls. There's lots and lots and lots of reasons why that can happen. But the fact remains that they have gone cold. But equally, there are people who suddenly things change to your, i.e. the sales organization's advantage. And what marketing automation, so products like ClickDimensions do, is enable you to identify those people so that you can up your marketing efforts and help them come to the right decision and to buy from you. What you also want to do is to build a relationship with those prospects whose timing is yet to change. In many B2B organizations, at any point in time, only 1% of potential prospects are ready to buy in the immediate future, i.e. within the next 3 months. That means that if you've got a marketing list of 1,000 people, only 10 of them are likely to buy in the next 3 months. Obviously, those numbers are generalizations, but they are fairly widely proven. But what it means more importantly is that there are 990 people on that marketing list of 1,000 where you want to maintain a relationship, because if you do maintain that relationship, they are much more likely to move into the group of will buy soon, maybe in 6 or 12 or 24 months. And when that happens, you want to be the organization that they buy from. But it is very, very challenging to maintain a relationship with 990 people with only 10 people buying from you. So what you need to do is to find ways of doing it with low effort, and ClickDimensions is part of that. This funnel just shows you what the overall sales process or journey looks like as an individual travels from being a raw lead who knows absolutely nothing about you, right the way down to being a customer or a client, and better still, a repeat customer or client. And they make these changes gradually. Marketing automation helps you with those top 5 segments. It helps you work with that 99% who are not likely to buy from you within the next 90 or so days. So that's where the bulk of ClickDimensions will help you. Without marketing automation, with just Dynamics 365, you only really have functionality to look after these layers of the funnel. So you've really got no support to get to that level of marketing qualified leads, which is where it becomes sensible to invest a reasonable amount of time of any staff member into the people. So looking at that in a slightly different way, ClickDimensions helps you guide your prospects on their journey. And I like to think of this as a journey, and it's a journey where they are getting closer and closer to you. So to describe that a little bit further, it is the journey from barely knowing you to being a paying client and then through repeat business. So that's the complete journey. And that first bit where people are barely knowing you, what we need to do is enable them to become aware of our brand. And they will do that by interacting with social posts, by visiting the website, and within that, viewing pages on the website. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to run through the functionality of ClickDimensions that focuses on that top of the funnel, how we can help a prospect become aware of our brand. ClickDimensions with the social marketing add-on enables us to make posts out to company social media pages, and specifically Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram from within Dynamics 365. So we are working totally within Dynamics 365. We can create a post, and that post can go live immediately, or we can create it now and schedule it to go live at a later date. One of the obvious advantages of that is that you can set up in one hit a whole series of posts, and those posts can then be drip fed out to your audience. Again, leveraging from the integration between Dynamics 365 and ClickDimensions, we can see the status of a post and the content of a post directly within 365, within our Dynamics 365. And this is what it might look like. So this screenshot is showing us a view of our currently posted views, our currently posted pages. We can see where they have been posted to, when they were posted, what campaign they're on, how many clicks they've received, and by building extra views or changing this view, there's a lot of other information that we can get as well. When we start looking at visits, so who has come to our website or websites, whether they've been driven through social media or otherwise, we get, again, an awful lot of information. But one thing that we can see is geographically where those visitors have come from before they even engage with us. So we look at our anonymous visitors, and an anonymous visitor is somebody who has visited the website, but at least at the moment, they have not given us any information through which we can identify them. But already we can see that the majority of our visitors, at least according to this screenshot, are coming from America. We also get a lead score, so we can see which of those anonymous visitors are the most likely to ultimately become a client. So if we look here, you see how each of those visitors has got a number against it, and that number has been derived based on their activity, which pages they've visited, which links they've clicked on, what other pages and social posts they have viewed, and how they have interacted with us. So those screenshots are pretty high level, but you should by now be getting the idea that even at that very top of funnel stage, we are getting to see quite a lot about people. I'd just like to flag that while this is called lead score, it is somewhat of a misnomer because the same functionality is seen for contacts and for these anonymous visitors. It doesn't only apply to leads, but nevertheless, it is known as lead score. Once we start looking into a particular visit, this is the amount of information that ClickDimensions will give us. So this is one particular anonymous visit, and we can see that it lasted 2 minutes, 121 seconds. We can see when it happened, and we can also see which page it started on, which page it ended on, and down here, down at the bottom, we can see all of the pages that were viewed during that visit. So that is, again, is a lot more useful information that we are starting to gather about this early stage prospect. In ClickDimensions, the functionality that we use to do all of that is social marketing, that's for social posts, lead scoring, and all of the web intelligence, which is how we set up so we can see who is looking where on the website. Moving a little bit further through a prospect journey, we now get to the point where there's been enough of a relationship, enough interaction between that prospect and us as the organization, that the prospect now is willing to share some, probably not a lot, but nevertheless some information in exchange for something of value. And typically the something of value is an ebook or a checklist, or one of my other clients, it's the floor plan of a home, and so on and so forth. Depending on what your business is, there will be lots of things that you may choose to put as downloadable resources. But what you do is you do make sure that prospects don't get those resources absolutely for free. What they do is they give you at least an email, and in some cases, depending on what you're sharing and the type of business, you may also ask for a phone number at that stage. So what functionality we're now using is the landing pages, web forms, and surveys within ClickDimensions. So all of those are different ways that we get information from our prospects. I'm using the word browser here to refer to anybody on the website. They might be an anonymous visitor, they might be a lead already, or they might be a contact. But we have got to the point where they are willing to share some identifying information. Once we have got to that level, all of the information that we know about that person, including the website pages that they viewed before they shared the information, is linked back to this record. So the browser is created as a lead or a contact. It's your choice, and you can make the choice separately depending on what is appropriate based on the resource that you're providing at that point. But all of the prior history does get linked back. That is an example taken from our website of what a landing page looks like. And in this particular case, as you can see, I'm only really asking for an email. Yes, the full name field is there, but that is not mandatory. But I am asking for an email. And from that, and from other information that ClickDimensions has kindly gathered for me, I can then create that retrospective history. When we're inside ClickDimensions, this is what a landing page looks like. So this is the top level of a Contact Us form. And as you can see, it looks very similar to any other Dynamics 365 record that you might see. And as that form is used, down at the bottom, you will get to see all the people who have filled in information and submitted it. They will become posted form records. This is what that same form looks like in the editor. And again, you can see how it is leveraging your Dynamics 365 skills. It looks very, very similar. So people who are experienced at working with Dynamics 365 with a relatively small amount of training will pick up how to create landing pages, web forms, and surveys. This particular example is a form. And on the right-hand side, we can see all the form fields that we've already created in the system. And then any existing form field, we can drag and drop onto the form. That's what it looks like in the editor. And that's what it would look like published out on the website. There is always a submit button, like this Contact Us, but it doesn't need to be labeled submit. And when the user clicks on that, there's a whole range of things that can happen. Logically, you would expect them to be sent an email of some sort, thanking them for whatever they've done. That email may, of course, have a link to a resource that they can then download. But as well as that, they could be added to a marketing list. They could be assigned to a particular user. So they're then given to the person who looks after that geography or something else related to the person based on what we know about them so far. We may create a follow-up task. So if every person who clicks on that button, we want to phone them within the week, we're not reliant on memory. Dynamics 365 will remind us because we've created a follow-up task to do that phone call, and so it just happens. We can also create a campaign response record, and that helps with reporting and enables us to know which of our campaigns are more or less successful. The next thing I want to look at is a survey. And a survey is fundamentally a more extensive form. It is a great way of finding out more about your prospect. So you've got to that level of trust where you can ask them a little bit more about their needs, about their situation, and so on and so forth. One of the really nice things about surveys is that they can be dynamic. What that means is that the questions that are displayed vary depending on what you already know about a prospect. So let's say you already know their age. You wouldn't ask their age. You wouldn't waste the time and the prospect's time. Or you could choose to ask a different question. So question A goes to older people, but question B goes to younger people. There's lots and lots of logic that you can do within a survey. The overall view of a survey and creating a survey is very similar to previously. And you can see on this screenshot that once the survey has been submitted, we are sending them an autoresponder email with the subject line, "Thank you for contacting us." Just so that you're familiar, the functionality of this area of ClickDimensions is landing pages, and none of the stuff that I've discussed requires coding, including HTML. We can create web forms. That's finding out a little bit of information. And typically a form is used in conjunction with a landing page. But because they're separate, it allows some interesting mixing and matching of the two. We've got surveys and lead scoring. So we've now moved our prospect to the point that they know a reasonable amount about us. they've probably ruled out some of the other potential suppliers to solve whatever problem they've got. And we're getting close to having someone that we can pass over to the sales team. So we are now at that point where we are communicating with a known prospect. We've got at least an email address and probably some further information. That means that we can now kick off email marketing. So you'll see now why one of my early poll questions asked you that about using email marketing and not much else, because it is the most commonly used functionality, even though you can't start to use it until you've got a prospect down to fairly close to being handoverable to sales. Additionally, once we get a prospect to here, we've also got events or event management and SMS marketing. Assuming we know a mobile number for the prospect in question, as well as sending them email, we can also send them SMSs. So these are the functionality inside ClickDimensions. So event management, ClickDimensions has the ability to talk to and work with the common online event management, including, as we've done here, GoToWebinar. But there are several other event management products that work very nicely with ClickDimensions. And when we're doing this, we can do all of the things that you've done in the run-up to this webinar. So you can register, and then once registered for an event, there's a whole heap of other marketing that can be done. SMS marketing, and of course a great use of SMS marketing is reminders for events, for sales, for a whole range of other stuff. We can also build in location-specific alerts, so messages that only go out to people when they are in a particular area. And of course, the area of ClickDimensions that almost everybody knows about is email marketing. And email marketing allows us to do full HTML, so full color images, links, buttons, and so on, but without any coding. There are tools given to us that enable us to have all of the benefits of full HTML emails without having to be a coder. And then finally, you obviously want to know which of your campaigns or emails or web pages or whatever has been your marketing effort is most successful. And ClickDimensions allows us to pull all of our skills from reporting, all of our Dynamics 365 reporting skills, and apply it to Dynamics 365 data and combining that with all of the ClickDimensions marketing data. Now, there is one thing that I have not yet talked about, and in my opinion, it is the absolute jewel in the crown of ClickDimensions as a tool to help us bring those people from not knowing much at all about us through to being willing to reach into their wallet or their bank account and give us some money. And what that is campaign automation. This is where we can design marketing in a way that works for us, and then we can set it and forget it. So this is where we can create a series of activities or a campaign, and they are completely on autopilot. It really is set and forget. Once you've done it, it will just keep on going, and it will move people towards becoming a marketing qualified lead or even a sales qualified lead. What a campaign automation does is links a series of marketing actions together. Whatever those marketing actions are, they are strung together and they will just happen one after the other. It always starts with a trigger. So something needs to happen in the world of a prospect or an anonymous visitor or whatever. And then all of the subsequent actions can happen either immediately or we can build in delays. We can also have branches, so typically true or false. So lots of ways where within a campaign automation, we can say, if this, do that, or if something else, do something different. So an example of that might be for everybody who opens email 1, they get sent email 2, but the people who don't open email 1 get sent email 1 again, or maybe get sent email 3. It's up to you. Another example of a branch is you might look at the age of a contact. And if they're above a certain age, you send them email 1. And if they're below that age, they get sent email 2. Where this becomes really, really useful is enabling you to make all of the touches that are necessary to bring somebody from the point of being an anonymous visitor through to being a full-blown client, or even just to the point of where it's worth making an appointment with them. Believe it or not, it can take 8 touches, where a touch is reading an email or reading a web page or receiving an SMS or whatever, 8 touches to get to an initial meeting. So it would be fair to say somebody who is willing to take an initial meeting is a sales qualified lead, but they have required on average 8 pieces of content in order to get to agreeing to that appointment. So if we tie that back to what I said at the beginning, that only 1% are ready for that initial appointment at any given time, that's 990 times 8 interactions between your organization and your sales funnel at any given time. So being able to do that on autopilot is hugely beneficial. What we've got here are the triggers that we can use to kick off any one of those automated flows. So somebody might submit a form or a survey. They may interact with an email, where an interaction is defined as either opening the email or clicking on a link. They may be added to a marketing list. They may be removed from a marketing list, or they might register for an event or attend an event, or maybe they're manually added to a marketing list. So they are the 9 things that you can use to kick off a campaign automation. Once you've kicked off the automation, these are the different actions that can happen on autopilot. So we can send them an email, we can add them to a list, we can remove them to a list, we can tell a user that something has happened, we can create a task activity for a user so they get an appropriate follow-up. We can assign them an owner. We can kick off some further automation using Dynamics 365 workflows. We can create a campaign response so we start to see which campaigns were effective or not, or we can send them an SMS. So we've now got a number of different actions, and although there's 10 on that slide, in reality there's a lot more because of the subtypes that come under each of those groups. I'm going to now run through some examples. So there is a very simple example. Every time somebody is added to a marketing list, we're looking at a piece of information about that person. So it might be their age, it might be where they live, and a whole range of other things. And then depending on the answer to that, they will either receive email 1 or they will receive email 2. Now, email 2 at this point is the end. So that's probably, thanks for contacting us, but you're not a good fit for us type email. Moving on from here, if they interact with that email, that's this green line, we then get another branch and we're looking at something else. And based on that branch, we might add them to list 1, or we might send them this series of 3 emails. If they don't interact with that email, we send them this series of emails. As I said, that's a fairly simple example, and that's pretty much only sending emails out to people. This example is a more complex nurture example, and this is a post-sale nurture example. So that the actual trigger is that they purchased something from us, and off the back of that purchase, they were added to a marketing list. And then we get an onboarding email and we change the status. We then wait a further day and they get another email. We wait 3 days and they get another email, and so on. So this whole flow will run over a couple of weeks. These timers can be wait timers or what are called date timers. So if this was an event, for example, we might have a few reminders that go out after somebody has registered for the event, but then starting potentially 2 or 3 days before the event, we use absolute date timers as reminders for people to come along to the event. This is much more complex again, and we can see I'm not going to go through this one in detail with you. I only put this in to show you that there is a lot more possible than a straight 1 foot after the other chain, that we can do a lot of checking and so on. So what I'm now going to do is just a very quick summary. So what I hope you've now realized is that combining ClickDimensions with Dynamics 365 enables you to look after everybody who may buy from you, not only those who have got a reasonable probability of buying in the next 3 months, but people who may not be ready to buy for 6, 12, 24, even 60 months from now. You are able to look after them relatively easily and in a lot less human time than trying to do all of that manually. I hope you've also realized that ClickDimensions is a lot more than email marketing. And where that's particularly important is that email marketing is only useful once you've got an email address. And many people are not happy to share that personal information until much later on in the piece. So we're able to look after those people and stay top of mind with them to a point where they are willing to share an email address. And we can do a lot of that on autopilot. It is feasible to set up campaign automations so they just work for us and the prospects gradually roll in, so then our people can do the valuable work of working with the people that are much more likely to buy soon. So, what is going to happen next? You will receive the marketing ebook that we promised in the registration, and the first 10 of you to register will also be offered the business review. You're also very welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. And now I'm going to turn mute off and have a look at any of the questions that have either been put into the chat box or that you've got at the moment. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to, if I can, unmute you. If not, if you can just drop any questions that you've got into the chat box. Okay, and just to finish, a final summary of ClickDimensions. It is a tightly integrated product with Dynamics 365. It uses the powerful marketing lists native to Dynamics 365. It makes sending personalized emails on autopilot easy. And within that personalization, you can use data from anywhere in your Dynamics 365 database. And those emails can appear to come from a range of different people within your organization. You're able to preview those emails on a range of different devices. You're able to nurture prospects through all of the contacts and touch points that are required before people are ready to purchase. You can create landing pages which appear to be on your website, even though they're actually in your Dynamics 365 database, and all the data that they collect comes back to your Dynamics 365 database, which enables reporting. You can also manage events with the data in Dynamics 365. You can run surveys to gain more information, and all of the activity that people may want to do with your website, with emails and so on, enables you to apply lead scoring so that you know where to invest your efforts. I'm going to stay around for a little bit longer, but please do reach out to me and I'm happy to answer questions. For any of you that haven't got contact details, they should now be on the screen, but I certainly will be monitoring the chat and the questions. And I look forward to talking to all of you soon.
Hi, Jill, are you there? Hi, Jill, am I able to ask a question here?
Hello?
Hi, Jill, it's Ben here. How are you going there?
I'm fine. How are you, Ben?
Yeah, good. I don't know if you're getting my questions via the chat board.
No, I'm not.
I'm nurturing. Okay, all right. That may be an issue on your end. There may be a few other questions firing through. I wanted to understand, I'm nurturing an existing group of customers, so I have all their details and I'm essentially nurturing a community. I guess some of the tools that I do use in my every day-to-day is Eventbrite, Campaign Monitor, and SurveyMonkey. Can they be integrated and become a part of the reporting mechanism?
Eventbrite is one of the existing integrations under event management. SurveyMonkey, down the track, there will be an integration to SurveyMonkey. What you can do right now is to create ClickDimensions surveys, which don't necessarily, they're not identical to SurveyMonkey, but I believe that down the track we're going to get, or there will be, an integration to SurveyMonkey. So then you will get everything that SurveyMonkey gives you, and but fed through to Dynamics 365 via ClickDimensions.
Okay, that sounds good. In terms of the survey data there, so it's essentially linking it back to the individual file notes, the individual customers, is that correct? Yes.
So it's the individual contact or lead, depending on what they are in Dynamics 365. So you would then be able to see, when you look at a contact, you can see their the surveys to which they've responded, and you can even go down to specific questions. So you can query or report, not only by individual, but by question, if that's of any value to you.
Yeah, that sounds good. In terms of the emails going out, is there a platform that's done that, like doing the HTML EDMs? Is that, we use Campaign Monitor? Is that, or is there another platform that we would be having to use?
ClickDimensions does all of that, so you don't need another. So yes, Campaign Monitor I didn't write down. That was the third thing you asked about. So ClickDimensions effectively replaces the email functionality of Campaign Monitor, MailChimp, and a whole heap of other similar products. So that wouldn't be an integration as such. You would just use ClickDimensions rather than Campaign Monitor in your case.
Sure. Okay, that sounds good. All right, I think that's been very helpful. I think that makes sense to me. Yeah, thanks, Jill. I'll come back to you if I have any further questions.
Sure. Well, I will be reaching out to you as one of the initial 10 people who registered.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jill. I look forward to talking more.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So who else is still there?